I was in college, and this must have been 1987 or 88, a friend introduced me to the work of David Carson, Chris Ashworth, Chris Bigg, and Vaughn Oliver, all at pretty much the same time. Now, David Carson and Chris Ashworth were art directors at a magazine called Ray Gun, and Chris Bigg and Vaughn Oliver, under the name V23, were doing a lot of the design work for a record label called 4AD. Now, up to that point, I'd been on a pretty steady diet of Joseph Mueller-Brockman, Massimo Vignelli, and Reed Miles. But these new guys, especially Carson, were doing things with design that was so far outside the box that I just didn't, and frankly, for the most part, still don't understand. To put it another way, think about music in the 1950s. The Billboard charts were filled with artists like Frankie Avalon, Frank Sinatra, and Nat King Cole. So there you are in your Barcalounger listening to Doris Day singing Que Sera Sera on the hi-fi, and a friend comes over with a stack of 45s by Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Elvis Presley. And the minute you put them on, your head would explode because these artists were doing things that you didn't know or even think was possible. You simply had no point of reference because they were the points of reference. And this is one of the reasons they became such icons and have made and continue to make such enormous impact on not just music, but popular culture. Now, the designers I mentioned are no different. They showed us things that we couldn't have imagined before them, and in many cases, we've spent decades in their wakes just trying to catch up. New Collage number 1, or New Collage 001, is the first of 3 limited edition books David Carson is releasing based on an ongoing body of collage work he started on the floor of his garage in 2018. And what makes this work different than most of the work he's done for the past 3 decades is that there's no client involved. In fact, it's the first body of non-commercial work that he's released that exists solely for his pleasure. Pure design, he told me in a text when I asked him about it. No client, just moving and arranging until intuitively it feels right. And you can see that sense of design by feel straight away in the lack of a traditional spine. And without it, we get a teaser of what we're about to experience before we even open the book, and I love that as a design choice. Remember, this is the guy who asked us not to mistake legibility for communication. And you can look at this book on your shelf from across the room and know exactly what it is without ever seeing the cover. Intuition has really been the cornerstone of Carson's design work for most, if not all, of his career. And while the new collages are different than his commercial work, there's a tone and energy to them that feels very familiar. And I think part of that familiarity for us as an audience comes from the fact that he's using bits of previous projects, pieces of posters from his own events, along with various bits of ephemera from wherever he happens to be creating the work. Now, I love the idea of using what's available in terms of materials. It's sort of meeting the art where it is, and it allows the work to reflect the environment in which it was made. So the book becomes almost a travelogue of sorts, with the various collages acting as markers of places and points in time, both past and present. The only real commercial project in the book came as a result of posting the new collage work to Instagram. A creative director at Universal Music Group saw what he was sharing and hired him to create a series of collages for a new 5LP John Coltrane box set. Now, I'm a huge fan of the aesthetic that Reed Miles established for Blue Note, but these collages have a terrific sense of visual improvisation that sets up and complements the music beautifully. Look, graphic design typically needs to serve something, a message, the brand, sometimes just the whim of the client. But with this new work, Carson is able to just play, to make without the need for some arbitrary approval or to meet the expectations of a brief. And as a result, I think the work becomes a purer expression of the maker and really a testament to the power of just doing. If you're already a fan of Carson's work, New Collage is a terrific addition to his previous books, The End of Print, Second Sight, and Trek. If you're unfamiliar with him, I think this book will help to inspire you to get out of your own way and stop worrying about what your art, your photography, or your design could or should be, and just get your hands in motion and make. At least that's what it's doing for me. Let me know what you think of this first look/review. Would you like to see more of these for other titles? Leave your feedback in the comments, or you can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Jeffrey Sidoris. Thanks very much for your time. I appreciate you being here. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll talk to you on the next one.